Hello and welcome to Cosmic Conversations. I'm your host, Karen Swain, stepping in for Sheila Seppi tonight and on the Conscious Awakening Network. And our beautiful guest is Nadi Hana. Welcome, Nadi.
Thank you, Karen. It's lovely to be here. It's lovely to see everyone in the community again. It's been a while.
I'm just going to ask people online to please mute your microphones while Nadi and I are speaking. That would be fantastic. Thanks so much. And we will be streaming on the Conscious Awakening Network, which is on quite a few platforms now, streaming to your home on Roku, Amazon Fire. There's an app on your iPhone and on Android, also on the Conscious Awakening Network website. The Conscious Awakening Network also is all over the audio and video platforms. You can find them on YouTube and Rumble and Odyssey and where else? Samsung and Spotify. They're everywhere. We're getting the message out, Nadi. We're getting the message out. And I also have a podcast show, which I've been doing for about 14 years now, called Accentuate the Positive, Expanding and Awakening Consciousness, that you can also find on all those platforms as well, playing with, actually I'm uploading to Brighteon and BitChute and everywhere, all over the place.
BitChute, all right, holding on strong.
Do you like BitChute?
I'm just really appreciative to find information, that's available. Yeah. Put it that way.
And I like Odyssey. Odyssey is a blockchain platform. There's so many platforms. And what's happening, the expansion of consciousness is so exponential. There are new social media platforms popping up, and Conscious Awakening Network has started their own social media platform on the website called Spacebook, which is fabulous. It's still in the sort of beta stages, but we can all chat with each other there, and we don't have to worry about all the rules and regulations that you have on other platforms, not mentioning any names.
We won't mention names.
But let me tell you a little bit about Nadi and what we're going to chat about tonight. Nadi is an inspirational instructor, presenter, energy healer, animal communicator, and artist. Her profession and spiritual practice are dedicated to the expansion of our multidimensional consciousness. As a practitioner of her personal transformation for nearly 25 years, she has cultivated a broad spectrum of skills and abilities to support us on our individual collective awakening. And I've been having this conversation with the last woman I had on my show, and then I've got this beautiful healer, Judy Satori, who has actually been on Cosmic Conversations, who's down in Sydney at the moment doing an upgrade DNA activation because big things are happening at the moment. So tonight, Nadi is going to explore the relationship between sacred geometry found in crop circles and how the encoded information activates our multi-dimensional consciousness. So I'm excited to hear about it, Nadi.
Yep, I'm excited to talk about it.
Take it away.
Oh, just like that. Okay. Well, I love having opportunities to talk about this subject. Particularly right now, I feel like, kind of on a personal note, I've been really looking around and having to do a lot of inner work to be at peace with how much suffering I see, how much density in the third dimension. It's been a full tilt boogie lately of inner work, using all the tools in the toolbox. And I really feel like crop circles and sacred geometry are some of those tools. And I meditate with them, I draw with them, and they both, in various forms, bring me a tremendous amount of peace, because as hectic, destabilized, and unstable, I guess I would say, our world becomes, sacred geometry is always stable. It is always going to show up consistently. And I lately have found so much comfort in that. And so it's this amazing gift, right, that simultaneously stabilizes and also activates, right? And I will just say a little bit about my history so people know who I am, why I'm here, why I'm so passionate about the, the geometry and the crop circles. So I lived I lived a life that made a lot of sense about a decade ago. I was a psychotherapist on an inpatient psychiatric unit. It was a wonderful job, but I completed my tour of duty in the mental health field, and I took a leap of faith. I knew I needed more of a holistic life, right? Really where I could listen to spirit and align with it. I'd had a spiritual practice at that point for like 15 years, but I wanted to live more in alignment with that. And so as soon as I took that leap of faith, I found some pretty core players, one of which was Nassim Haramein and his unified physics and his unified theory of everything. And within that, sacred geometry. And studying the geometry, studying unified physics, it just really turned me on to unity consciousness in a new way and seeing the interconnectedness of everything. And so I began drawing compulsively, very much like Richard Dreyfuss in The Close Encounters of the Third Kind. I just was prolific in producing art to the point where friends were like, you need to have an art installation, like an art show. Like, I'm not an artist. What are you talking about? But the geometry wanted to get out, that was the thing. And the Sri Yantra in the back, it just like, it started out small and it ended up with, 6x6 pieces that are out of control, portals into different dimensions. But started by drawing. The geometry needed to get out there. And then it was, people saw it and they're like, what is this beautiful stuff? So I started talking about it. I started teaching about it. And then the geometry led me to the crop circles. A lot of things led me to the crop circles, right? But studying the fundamental patterns on planet leads you off planet inevitably, and really contributes to an expansion that your multidimensional consciousness is inherent, right? And so part of why I share my story is because, when you're studying geometry, when you're working with the crop circles, you will expand probably past your comfort zone. I started working with the crop circles, started connecting with the circle makers and the different civilizations, Arcturians, Andromedans, Syrians, all of them. It just starts happening naturally. And then beginning to understand myself as existing simultaneous in many, many galactic star systems, and knowing that I'm here of service, right? Knowing that I'm here sharing the intelligence of advanced civilizations. And so many of us on this call, so many of us on the Galactic Alliance and the Conscious Awakening Network, we are tapped in. We know that this is what's going on. So I know I'm preaching to the choir, and I'm really excited to either offer information that you're familiar with and invite, sort of next level contemplation, or to just validate what you know, right? We all know this stuff. These are schools of remembering, right? And I'm going to talk a lot about these fundamental patterns that we see around us all the time, but we are so disconnected, and so tuning into the natural world, tuning into the natural patterns, they can harmonize our systems, right? I teach a lot of people how to draw the geometry, because as you are working with the geometries in this physical embodied way, you are entraining your system into alignment. You're entraining your system into expansion, where you can hear your guidance more and get, the next steps much clearer. And so I want to invite everyone to just sit back and enjoy, and I'm going to bring connections. I'm going to make I'm going to connect some of the dots between sacred geometry and crop circles, and I'll talk a little bit about each, and then at the end we can do questions and answers. And this is such a tiny overview of this huge subject. It's always a little challenging to consolidate, but it's an energetic transmission, right? The details are cool, but you've signed yourself up to look at some images that will activate you at a genetic template level, right? This is really powerful stuff. So I think that's it. I was always like the little intro, and I'm pretty sure I've covered everything, but nothing at the same time. So I'm going to go into screen share. I think the PowerPoint's not very long, and my cat is I cat's going to help us out. So he's good at that. Here we go. Yeah, about half an hour on everything we can. All right, here we go. So I'm going to go into the slideshow. I'm going to start with the phi spiral, right? So can you see my screen okay? Is that working?
Yeah, it's great.
Yes, fabulous. So we're all seeing this beautiful
Mm.
structure. Oh, so harmonic, right? So satisfying to us and just universal, right? So the more we connect with these shapes and patterns, the more we're going to remember ourselves, right? We're going to remember that we are these patterns, and that these beautiful harmonics exist on cosmological scales. They're everywhere in nature, and they're also our DNA, right? We are stardust. We are connected in this geometric fundamental structure. And just contemplating that, can get you connected to our galactic family, right? It's going to connect you to the larger, and it can really heal that place of isolation, that illusion, that program that's being put out there of isolation. We are all geometric, we are all connected, and it's just a matter of looking everywhere, just beginning to find it, beginning to feel it, right? There is no thing in this planet, in this known universe, that doesn't have a geometric pattern, right? So when you're studying geometry, you are inherently connecting with all of that. I wanted to start with the phi, right? Because the phi was one of the beautiful earliest formations that we saw. This is in 1996. This is the phi spiral, right, in the fields. And this one is so potent because we were starting to catch on, right, that there was a phenomenon happening. And then their response was, okay, we want to make sure you're getting it, right? So this was a couple years into it. And this formation, called the Julia set, was made in broad daylight, right? And some of you are familiar with this, and some of you, it's brand new information. The thing is that the information matters, but with crop circles, it's just about looking at them. So you can, I'm going to share some cool stuff, but just sit with the formations. See if you can tune into those in a new receptive way, right? This one was made in broad daylight. So that, and by then we had understood that this was an aerial phenomenon, right? So we had more planes going over, and it was like 6 o'clock in the afternoon. And so it was also in the field right across from Stonehenge, right? So just attention getting no matter what. And the highway there became an absolute parking lot because people saw this fog like descend on the field, and they knew that crop circles were happening by now. This formation was witnessed by 15,000 people. And it was, just got the chills, I love it. It was so profound. A woman, Patricia Corey. I don't know if probably people know of her. She's the Syrian channel. The Syrian Revelation. She wrote 4 channel books about the prophecies and the information from the Syrian civilization. She sat in that center circle, right, in that beautiful centerpiece, and it was contact. It was open contact, and she began channeling after that. She had no familiarity with any of that world before then. So all of these amazing aspects of crop circles that I will get into a little bit, but just the foundation of geometry in these patterns, right? So noticing, like, gosh, communicating with us through the fundamental structures of math, right? And so we know the Fibonacci, we know the phi ratio. We've this beautiful proportion. This is how space adds and divides itself, right? And I'm just going to say a couple of things about it, because when you look into the phi and you look into this golden spiral, it cannot help but inspire contemplation of infinity, right? This is a number that goes on infinitely. And we as human beings are not encouraged to consider ourselves as infinite beings. I'm going to come out of the screen share. This is my latest thing, right? I've been working with these geometries for like 12 years or plus. And it's an evolutionary process where I just keep expanding into the information. And I kind of saw the phi as you know, oh yeah, that's everywhere, right? But oh my God, to start to drop into the consciousness of infinity, right? Like our infinite nature. Um, Sky's the limit in terms of our multidimensional consciousness. This is part of what has to be broken down, is this illusion of separation that comes with the 3D, right? So contemplating these geometries, you know, standard model physics, right? Decades ago, they were coming up with all this empirical data, and the equations needed, they needed concrete, solid endpoints. What's the word I'm looking for? Solutions, right? And so many of the numbers and equations they were doing were coming up with infinite numbers, right? The equations were not satisfying when you need empirical data to support your construct, so to speak, right? So they had, you know, in the standard model, like in the standard practice, there's actually a practice called renormalization, right? Where they took all of the equations that were ending in infinite numbers and they just swept them under the rug. And they said, oh, we'll call that dark matter. like we all know about dark matter, but that's what happened is we couldn't, what is the word? Oh boy, quantify. We couldn't quantify infinity, right? And so just don't look at that. Don't look at the majority of reality. We're just going to focus on the 3D form. So it's useful, but the geometry and the formation can start breaking down that limited construct that we've all embraced. And unified physics is starting to go, wait a minute, we are infinite beings, you know, infinite infinities, like this stuff blows your brain. And so all of these geometries can inspire that kind of contemplation. So I'll go back to the phi. So many cool parts of the phi ratio, right? And I can't go into all of them at all. There's a proportion ratio of beautifully balanced repeating pattern, right? This is a self-replicating pattern. The proportions are harmonic, but I want to focus on the mathematical equation, the structure that supports that beautiful phi spiral, right? I leave my things there all the time. It's called the Fibonacci sequence. Most of us are familiar with that, but if you're not, this is an equation that adds on itself. It also subtracts, but we can't see that part. So it's, you know, 2 and 3 is 5. So simple, 3 and 5 is 8. It doesn't need an additional integer. This is the only equation that simply needs itself to add or subtract. And so it creates that harmonic resonance, that deep, satisfying pattern, right? It's how we resonate with the natural world and the man-made world and all different disciplines, right? Here's what I'm getting at. I never used to contemplate math, right? I'm on the metaphysical side of sacred geometry, and over time working with the geometry has helped me understand that you could say that God is math, and that mathematics, that you can understand God through mathematics. I never knew that. I was a therapist with an aversion to math. Like I had geometry trauma, no doubt. So this slide, this equation representation is just part of what invites contemplation of a larger orchestration, right? So here's the equation written left to right, right? 1 and 2 is 3, 2 and 3 is 5. Standard operating procedure here. Then the cool thing about this is you can also get the phi equation going down on the far right column, right? 2 and 3 is 5, and 5 and 8 is 13, and it's going to go on and on all the way down. It will always add in the same way. But then you can do it with the first column as well, right? 1 and 2 is 3, and 2 and 3 and 5 is kind of on and on. It's a little bit remarkable that way too. But then just to finish it off, you can do that with the center column as well, right? So even if you've seen this slide before, even if you are aware of this information, take a breath into that and just contemplate that level of orchestration, right? That level of, you know, we would call it divinity, but I think that it's, this is advanced intelligence, right? This is how we can get connected to those civilizations, those engineers, those, what do we call them? Architects that gave us these tools, right? Sacred geometry is part of the code, right? How to decipher the codes that have been given us. And my goodness, they need to dumb things down for us, don't they? But there's these clues, you know, and looking at the formations, you know, this is a triple Julia set. It happened in the same year, like just a couple months after that one. looking at these formations is like following the breadcrumbs, right? It will get you to the next level of your consciousness. It will expand you into understanding that there is so much more going on. And, you know, we know that. I know a lot of us on this call and a lot of us watching this, we know that. So the formations are just confirmation, right? So many of them are not an obvious phi spiral, but this one has the spiral built in, right? You can see these 4 towers expand, and then these ones start small and they expand out in that spiral. And then starting small, they expand in that mathematical proportion as well. And it's woven into so many of the formations in a non-obvious way. Right now, I put a bunch of these together. So let me just see. I think I did this next. Yeah. So real quick, I'm going to come out. If any of you know the movie Contact, it's one of my top 3 movies. I've got Matrix, Contact, and Close Encounters of the Third Kind. I'm kind of old school at this point. Ashley, the question about how they're formed is such a big conversation. So I appreciate the question. And if you can hold on to it, maybe we can talk about it more at the end. It's absolutely one of the core questions, right? So the movie Contact, you know, not to do a spoiler alert, but I think 40 years later, I can. It's the movie about, you know, how the message from SETI was sent out and we received the response through radio frequencies, and it's a matter of deciphering the radio frequencies, and they figure out that there's code embedded in the sonic sounds that we were receiving. It is just like that with the crop circles, right? There is information encoded into these things, and that is part of why you have seen the disinformation campaign. It's part of why they have been discredited, debunked, and set to the side, because they are so powerful. I want to show you a little clip just to remind you, just to remember that this is what is it? Disclosure through the media, right? Same stuff. We know that that's what happens. This is a tiny clip, like seriously, like 30 seconds. And this is them debriefing the government on the codes that they're getting. And if you don't get the audio, Karen, will you just wave at me? But I think it should work. There we go. Kind of quiet. No?
No audio.
Okay. Well, I can translate.
It's a great movie.
Yeah. So she's basically sharing how they've decoded binary code, and they don't know what's going on. We don't know what it is, right? Same with crop circles. We don't know what it is, but we are figuring out. And I will tell you, some people know, many people know. So when you decode, you can get things like this, which are time travel devices, right? Free energy devices, right? The information that is embedded in these formations is capable of liberating humanity, right? There's really important information. And certainly there's a whole conversation about, are they man-made? Is it a hoax? All of that. But I will say that the genuine crop circles, it is believed by those who have experienced them that they contain not only schematics like that, like I've seen people that literally create 3D representations of the 2D shapes and the pattern, the schematics, if you will, do create a ship, right? If you get the forms in a 3D creation, it's giving us codes for craft. It's also giving us codes in a second for our Merkaba, where we don't need the craft, right? Our star bodies, you know, light bodies. So many thoughts, I can't even track how fast I'm thinking. I hope I'm making sense. A second ago, the schematics, right? But not just external schematics. These formations are encoded with star glyphs that are designed to activate our DNA, right? They are interfacing with photonic light frequencies, stuff that we don't even know, right? The dolphins understand this. The dolphins work in photonic light code. But this is information contained in sonic frequencies, right? We've just, recently discovered that there are sonic frequencies left in crop circles. Namely, you can step into a genuine crop circle and experience the equivalent of like a theta realm, right? A theta beat. And so that's part of why going into a formation, you have an altered state experience because the sonic codes are aligning the hemispheres of your brain and making it easier to receive intelligence, right? So that's just, there is so much in there that we're just starting to understand. And a lot of the higher esoteric intelligence comes through channeled information and people who have had direct contact experiences. So I like to share the whole bandwidth of bandwidth is right there, the whole broad spectrum of experiences and interpretations of crop circle. I'm definitely on the far out metaphysical interpretation side of things though, but I have to give a nod to the 3D world as usual. So I want to get back to the geometry and kind of weave them together. I do think that video is important though, because it sort of, this is a longstanding theme where we're given we are given bits of information. So what we're doing here is just trying to piece the bits together. And, you know, the Galactic Alliance, Conscious Awakening Network, like all the pioneers, right? We're doing it. I'm so grateful to everyone. So I'm going to take a little sip of water. Let's take a breath together. It's so much information. I usually try to jam it all in and you just can't. There's so much. Hopefully this is an invitation to go look for more. But breaking down the geometries, right? Looking into so many of the complex formations that are, you know, perhaps communicating again, like multidimensionality, right? So the one on the bottom right is it's a 5D hyper dodecagon. It's a 5th dimensional cube, right? So that 2D shape giving us a hint at a geometry into another dimension, right? There's so many tesseracts, which is the geometry of time travel, that 4th dimensional cube. So fascinating. And many of us know Metatron's cube. We love Metatron's cube, really big fans of the geometry, and Metatron's made his way into the collective psyche for sure. And, you know, again, I don't want to assume familiarity, but this is geometry based in the seed of life, which is this fundamental pattern you find in sacred sites everywhere, as well as the flower of life and the association with that which is revered, that which is sacred, that which is universal, gives us the template for going in deeper into Metatron's cube, right? So if you follow the flow chart, when you go into the expanded geometry of the flower of life, right, you can find the coordinates, you can find the structure for Metatron's cube, right? And we're going to talk about why that's really important in right now. so the expanded flower of life, sometimes you see it enclosed, right? And that limits the information. But when you see it in its expanded state, that gives us the foundation for Metatron's cube. And one of the reasons that's super interesting is because it contains the Platonic solids, right? These are 5 shapes that they're the only shapes that adhere to 3 criteria, right? We're going back to Plato and Pythagoras and like the origins of this information. Although the minute I said that, I know that they're not the origins, right? These are just the folks who are tapped in to the next level of the geometry. The Platonic solids are unique in that they are the only shapes that adhere to 3 criteria, right? All of the faces are the same. All of the inner angles are the same. And they fit into a sphere equidistantly, right? Those are fun details. The reason we like the Platonic so much, and they're really cool to look at, is because they represent the 5 elements of our material world, immaterial world as well. So you've got the tetrahedron that represents fire. You've got the octahedron representing the element of air. The hexahedron, or the cube, is for earth. The icosahedron, I don't know, I really love the icosahedron, is the element of water. And the dodecahedron, the rock star, is the element of ether, right? And it's really the element of ether that can change everything, right? Most of us in the Western world were given the 4 elements, right? We know earth, air, fire, water. We were not privy to ether and energy and prana and chi and the major life force elements of our reality. You know, other cultures, they had that, right? They knew about this fundamental element. But much like dark matter, ether was swept under the rug, and we said, oh no, pay attention to the material world, not the immaterial. So these 5 elements, right? Hang on one second. Let me just say one piece. When we're working with sacred geometry or the crop circles, right? They are speaking to us in archetype and symbolism, right? They are speaking to the 90% of our subconscious mind. 90% of our waking reality is governed by our subconscious mind. 10% is governed by our conscious mind. Every time I say it, it's just so disturbing. So the geometry is speaking to the subconscious. It's recognizing we're starting to bring things online that have been swept under the rug, right? So when we start studying sacred geometry, when we start working with Metatron's cube and these 5 platonic solids, parts of our psyche, parts of our essential being are coming online. And that's part of how we expand our dimensionality, right? Is we're speaking to the invisible realms. So when you start drawing, when you start working with it, you are activating the essence of ether and energy and like everything powerful, right? The true harnessing life force is in that shape. So even if we're just going like, oh, I'm drawing a cool shape, nope, so much coming online. And here's the next level of that. This is how all of the platonic solids fit into Metatron's cube, right? Very succinctly. Drawing them is really fun. You've got the tetrahedron on the top left, this beautiful upward facing triangle, cube, right, on the top middle, and then top right is the icosahedron again. The bottom is the octahedron. All of these elements represented in Metatron's cube, and then the dodecahedron, of course, in the center. But really, some of the very, very important information comes when you add the 2 triangles on top of each other, right? Overlaying each other, you get the star tetrahedron, right? We know what this is. We know this is our light body. We know this geometry is how we exist in frequency and form when we can drop our spacesuits, right? This is our technology. This is the way that we can travel, interdimensionally through the wormholes. This is the time travel device. This is who we are in our essence. And, the center of that Merkaba being an infinite source of energy within us, right? So meditation, connecting with that point of stillness, there are ways of activating this geometry so that you can actually travel and move about the universe, right? But we have, again, not been privy to that information, but that's part of the mystery schools coming back online, right? We are collectively more able to engage in that conversation, have like this. But this is, these are multidimensional, these shapes, they're 2D, we're drawing them, they're 3D, we can see them in the 3D, but honestly, they are so alive that we are the geometry, right? Our DNA, we are the elements, it's all woven together and it's being reinforced, right? So when you're looking at these crop circles, when you are, so all you have to do is look at them, right? This is non-local advanced technology that is designed to interface with that 90% of our subconscious mind. That is the nature of an advanced technology, that it would know how to work perfectly with our systems individually, but also collectively, right? Bringing information that can open our consciousness to new ideas, to new dimensional realities, and to remember, right? So this is just like the natural world, looking around, and it's inspiring remembrance of what we already know, right? I'm not making this up. They're giving us activation codes, right, that bring us back online, right? So this one in particular, I cannot believe it's already 6:40. I have so much to talk about. I'm going to try. I'll just show you a bunch of crop circles. if we run out of time, I'll just throw a bunch of crop circles up on the scene, but there's on the screen, there's just so much to talk about. This one, 2017, one of the things that I love to share in really basic intro crop circle talks is, the essential question of, are they real? Who makes them? And all of that. There is a phenomenon called ghost phenomenon, right? Where the formation lasts into the next year. And it's just remarkable because it indicates you've got some kind of crystalline structure in the soil that is, been altered. And so this is one of my favorites because I think the next year was even more potent, right? To just see that come alive again in next year's crop, and almost kind of with a new dimensionality, right? It, to me, it's kind of seals the deal of like, oh, there is something else going on, because even if you were to mash this pattern into the ground, it's just not going to repeat itself like this one in the following year. And there's so many with ghost formations like this that, you know, definitely there are man-made formations, but there are also the genuine ones, and they typically line up geometrically, right? You can go back and back engineer them and recreate them. And the lay of the crop, you know, this woven braided pattern on the boundary is on the border is just another one of the confirmation pieces that's very challenging to do. Just looking at them, I love it. I don't really have to do anything. Just look at them and it's happening, right? This little talk here is likely to generate an altered state of consciousness, because you're looking at these shapes, you're looking at the geometry that is harmonic and balanced, and it's bringing you online, you know, all of these different aspects of ourselves. I mean, what we're dealing with these, I don't know where I'm going next on the slide. We'll get there in a second, but you know what? Yesterday we had this emergency broadcast system test, right? Like, what else is going on with that, right? Like, sticking with the geometry, everything about 5G, all of the different frequencies that are just subtly designed to defragment us and like chip away at our coherence, right? So working with the geometry, working with the formations, just it's bringing us back into harmony, and it is so vital, and it is only going to get more and more important, which is part of why I just love to talk about it. And we have a lot of practices, we have a lot of tools, but these just complements, you know, these complements everything that we're doing. I have more slides, but let's just do a little check-in. I have thousands more slides.
Can I ask you, because I'm down under, did that go ahead yesterday, that emergency test thing that they were talking about? Did that happen?
Yeah, it did. I mean, it was only in the US and Israel. So that was, you know, Alaska and Hawaii and all of our territory, whatever you want to call it. It was not global, right? But it did happen for us. Yeah. So
wow.
So many of us let our phones drain and stick them in the microwave and, you know, went out into the woods. Like, I don't, you know, who knows what it was. I just didn't want to find out. And I'm sure I will eventually. But yeah, lots going on in that situation.
Lots going on.
Yeah.
You know, that you do feel lightheaded looking at those patterns. But what like that ghost pattern was so you know, like 3D, like, because a crop circle is more 2D when you look at it, especially from above. But you've seen the first Thrive movie, right?
Yeah, I have that clip.
Do you have that clip? Do you want to play that clip? Do you want to play that? Because that is awesome.
Yeah, Foster definitely lays it down. This is the original Thrive movie, right? Which I think like 2010. And Foster Gamble and his beautiful animations, he makes some of the crop circles into 3D. So I've actually cut the clip. The first half of him is sort of talking about the phenomenon in general, like I have. But then I want to show you the animations, and also just sort of talking again about like why they might be here.
Yeah.
So let me just find that. Right. We could sit and stare at them for a long time. They're just incredible.
So beautiful.
They're so beautiful.
So beautiful.
This is the clip. Yeah. So we're right on line with where the slideshow is going. It's like, oh, let's bring in some other information. I think it's right around here. Oh, I hope you can have the audio. I know what it is. If I click, take it my headset, that's what blocks it.
Yeah.
So Karen, give a thumbs up if you can get it. Hang on.
Well, we can see it. I don't think I can hear anything. Oh, a little bit. Yeah, it's not very loud.
No.
Here are some two-dimensional versions.
We can hear it. There we go. Look
3D.
at that. Just fabulous.
Right.
Incredible. Incredible.
Here is the vector equilibrium. and the related pattern of 64 that we saw in the arts of so many ancient cultures.
Thank goodness for Foster. Watch another.
When I saw the coherence between the crop circles and the ancient encodings, I thought, regardless of whoever created them and wherever they're from, there must be an important purpose to these designs. They're so coherent. I've come to believe that the pattern of the torus and the vector equilibrium, especially in the form of the 64 tetrahedron crystal, is showing us how energy works in the universe so that we can learn to align with it. I believe that they're giving us a model for accessing energy in a clean, safe, and limitless way, and a new means of propulsion. What more important message could there be to get to us? And especially now, from their perspective, as we're beginning to extend our careless reach beyond our planet.
Right.
Oh, that just says it all, doesn't it, Nadi?
Yeah, and that was 13 years ago.
I
you know?
know. I
Yeah.
know. So cool. So
Yeah.
cool. I
Yeah.
saw that 13 years ago, 2012. Foster came out Down Under promoting the film.
Yeah.
And when I first saw that, before he came out, actually, my mind was blown. Who saw that for the first time just then? Yeah?
Oh, just now. Okay.
Just now. Yeah?
Mhm.
Yeah? Because I just, it's mind-blowing when you see it for the first time. Yeah. I think, anyway.
Yeah, and we should add that both the original Thrive in 2010, and then they just came out with another one, I think last year. They're both free online, and they're just there. You know, Foster took his inheritance and just was trying to promote all of the free energy and all of the new technologies. So thank goodness for Foster. And
I know.
I forget her name, his wife, she was Patricia. Thrive is
Foster and oh God, I've forgotten it too.
yeah, I
names.
know.
It'll come to me in a minute. I'll
Mhm.
Google it in a second. But any questions, James? What is the title? The title of the movie? Yeah, Thrive. Thrive. What's it going to take? If you put in Thrive in a search engine, I won't say which search engine, whatever search engine you want to use. Thrive the movie. If you put in Thrive the movie, you'll see it come up. Like most mainstream platforms, they've sort of tried to dumb it down, but they can't dumb it down because I think it's had 30 million views on the major platform. Yeah. Questions. Who's got any questions? Yeah,
there
there's
was
a few
the
questions.
one early on. Let me look.
I'm not trying to
that
find
first
it.
one. Yeah.
Hi there. Hi there.
All right. Messages from Inner Earth. Yes. All right. Yep. There was a question. Where did it go?
Has anyone got any questions for Nadi? If so, put your hand up because I'm just.
I can. Yeah, as we're waiting.
Nicole says, do you have recommendations for the collection of images in the printed book or online photo gallery?
Yeah. 3 sites. I can try to put them in the chat. One is Temporary Temples, right? That is Karen and Steve Alexander, temporarytemples.com. And they have wonderful archives. I mean, like starting in, I think, 1990 when they first started. And that is 30 years of images and information. So Temporary Temples, and then also the Crop Circle Connector. You can, they have, decades of archives as well. And then I'm going to give a shout out to this website that I love where you can buy the images of the crop circles. He's like done compilations from the entire phenomenon, and it's called Shapes of Wisdom. And if you want your crop circle merch, that is the place to go. All right. So that's my best answer for that. And Susie, you've got your hand up. Karen, is it okay if we go with Susie, or is there
Yep.
support? Okay. Yeah.
Go for
Hello,
it.
beautiful.
Hi, this is so good hearing you talk again. And I want to reiterate, if for people that don't know, what you said about when you're watching sacred geometry or looking at it, there's actually something inside of us that answers to it. I mean, it's kind of like you wonder why you're like staring at it. And, well, why am I just so captivated by this? And it's actually addicting. There's something in our bodies, in our DNA that answers. And I know you're addicted to the Sri Lanka. I mean, I just talk about how the addiction to this. It's so fun. I just love hearing you talk, but I don't know if it's a question or just I love you.
No, I love you too. It's like we've all had the Kool-Aid, like we're just drinking it together, right? Exactly. But I'll just take it one step further, is what we're addicted to is the alignments that we feel when we are staring at it, right? And that's part of the technology, is that these shapes and these formations, they are just fundamental to our psyche. And so when we are staring with it, working with it, drawing it, meditating with it, all of those things, we are sending the signal to our psyche. We say, I get it, give me more. And then it's this feedback loop where, our guides, our team, different benevolent beings are like, oh, she's onto it. Someone, let's see. So Tom Kenyon, who writes about the Arcturians, right? He wrote, I think it was in Connecting with the Arcturians. No, sorry, that was Miller.
The Hathors.
The Hathors, right? It was one of those books. There's the Hathors, and then there's the Arcturian anthology. And in one of them, he says, or the Arcturians say, that studying crop circles and studying geometry are the first steps in activating your telepathic powers.
Wow.
Right? Powers. Yeah, I mean, it's literally written there, like, this is the signal. So the more you're staring at it, the more you're signaling your psyche, the more you're signaling other assistants. And that's part of, Susie, why it's so addictive, is because we know we are coming online. We can feel it, even if we don't quite register it consciously.
Yeah, you really portray that well, because it's just so. If you, I mean, I was just like, I was wondering, what is it in me that's so fascinated with watching this geometry? Because I don't really need answers. It is an answer as I'm connecting with it, as I'm communicating with it. But anyway, great job, Nadi. Love you so much.
Thanks, love. I'll add one piece to it, and it's so good to see you again. When in Close Encounters of the Third Kind, any of us would, I'm talking to you guys know contact experiences. Like, this is not your first rodeo. It's in that I'll use that as an example, right? When Richard Dreyfuss is just completely obsessed, right? He doesn't even know it's Devil's Tower that he's creating, right? But it just builds and builds and builds. And it's that obsession, that preoccupation, that is its own form of contact, right? It's interfacing with our subconscious mind in a way that is so compelling that we have to keep going. And so they are the most gentle forms of contact that are out here. It's part of why I love them. And so, yeah, there's compulsion because we are signaling the yes, we are having contact with our higher selves. And yeah. All right. So
Rebecca, you've got your hand up, darling one. Do you want to ask your question?
Thank you, sweetie. I'm not even sure how to articulate this question, because I had an experience. I was rescued by dolphins, 5 of them, back in 93-ish. And I'm still trying to understand what happened, but basically I ended up being taken home, but there were a multitude of frequencies, experiences. The whole thing was huge. And you mentioned, in association with dolphins, photonic light codes. Yes. Can you just say anything about that for me? Thank you.
Absolutely. I couldn't see you though, Rebecca. I'm sorry.
I'm so sorry.
That's okay. No, I think it was my settings. So I either had it on gallery view, or I tried to fiddle with it. But what a great inquiry. Well, not consolidate an answer sufficiently. So, you know, dolphins, right? I'm so glad they rescued you. What a beautiful connection you have. And dolphins being our cetacean friends, right? The dolphins and whales and turtles, who are other civilizations here embodied in these beautiful forms, right? These are the Syrians, these are the Essassani, they're looking out for us, right? These are advanced beings, and the best we can do is to clue into that, right? So just only in the last 10 years, right, with our, I'm building around to the answer. I'm just going to give you the backstory. With the development of cymatics and a cymoscope, right, like the technology to hear higher and higher frequencies that are out of our range, they began to understand that dolphins communicate in extraordinarily high frequencies that we can't register because we're so limited, right? So we started to understand their advanced communication skills. And then we also have started to understand that the dolphins, all right, and I'm not going to do justice to this, but you know how dolphins with the babies and the pregnant mamas and the autistic kids and all of the healings that we hear about, it's because the dolphins are able to communicate at the advanced light code realm, right? We know light, we know three-dimensional light, but then there's holographic photonic light. This is where our understanding is going. Photonic light is how to interface with our holographic multidimensional DNA, right? And the photonic light is embedded in codes in the crop circles, right? I am not just making this up. There's lots of evidence that's studies that are suggesting this and or finding this empirical data. But it also comes from channels, right? So I'm sure you are familiar with Joan Ocean and her decades of work playing with the dolphins and, you know, being fully immersed in their field, right? And so she received the information also that the dolphins are in the telepathy. The telepathy works on the frequency of the photonic light, right? And we barely know anything about this. So this is my best attempt to answer your question, but that's part of how the dolphins can tune in and understand that they needed to rescue you. It's those frequencies that they're moving on that responded to you and helped turn you on, and it helped turn all of us on, because it's just the next level of communication. It's just like their sonic frequencies. We just don't get it yet. They're so advanced. So I can send information, because there's like literally there are molecular biologists that have been studying this, that have measured the photonic light frequencies. So it's not just we're not just moving in the woo way here. It's legit science. We love empirical data.
The woo way.
That would be awesome.
Yeah. Okay.
Because they took me through such a range of frequencies that I still stretch to even begin to understand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I know. Sorry. I'm sorry.
Eventually I just disappeared, and
Wow.
you know, it was home. But
Yeah.
thank you. If there's something you can send, that would be awesome.
Yeah. Thank you. I just got that zing of homecoming. Thank you for sharing that. I just totally felt it.
I see Carol's got her hand up there, but I think, can we attempt to go back to Ashley's question?
Mm-hmm.
How are these formed? And then she's got frequency. Like,
Mm-hmm.
what's your take on how these are formed?
Mm-hmm. Yes. Lots and lots of answers to that question. The advanced, let me back up for a second. Information about how the genuine formations are made comes from channeled information, right? People that have received the information about the technology that's used, right? So there are lots of different sources for how they're made, right? I'll try to cover a couple of them. The advanced technologies are plasma light, and sound technologies, as well as microwave. Microwave's kind of on the lower end of the how they're made, right? So how they're made when it's plasma and light technology, that has to do with the interface of consciousness, right? So these are modalities that understand the interrelatedness of the consciousness of the plant, the consciousness of the planet, the consciousness of the humans, both past, present, and future, that are involved in making these, right? So the answer of how they're made involves the cooperation of consciousness, right? Like we're just starting to understand the potency of that tool. So yes, light technology, plasmic technology, but also harnessing collective consciousness, right? That's part of the answer. There's also the barbaric mash down, kill the plants strategy of humans, right? The old school, you can easily mash down a formation in a field, right? And that's been offered as, you know, a debunking explanation, where they say, no, these things can't be made by higher intelligence. We're just making these pretty patterns in the fields. And there have been, you know, efforts on both sides to discredit, you know, the other. But there are so many amazing examples, both of trying to recreate some of the intricate patterns with ropes and boards and so forth. And typically, like, those take hours, and, you know, even with night vision goggles, the devices involved in getting that like precise geometry, it's not replicable, right, by what human hands can do. And for an example, that really, really huge, it's called the Milk Hill Formation, the one that we saw first in the Thrive, where it's made into this beautiful 3D torus. You know, that one has 409 circles. I don't know if I have that real quick. I'm sorry, I'm trying to answer the question here. But I think I have, do I have that one? We can just keep, I should have just put these up while I'm talking. I can't believe I didn't do that. There you go. 409 circles, right? Like, just, and they tried to replicate one small segment of them. It took it 4 days, you know, so yes, human hands can make them. They're often very crude and look obviously man-made. However, I'm going to say, when I was over there, and I see Carol's got a question, so I'll try to be concise. It's so hard. When I was over there, I learned rather sadly that there are still 82 military bases on the islands, on the continent of England, right? Like, America came over for World War II and they just never left. And there's a ton of covert operations there. And so if I'm a believer,
and
here, oh yeah,
down under.
Oh, right, kind of everywhere, sadly. If I believe, which I do, that there was a trade made for humanity and advanced technology, right? That means that our governments have quite a bit of technology that would be on par with what we are considering advanced technology. So you have to factor in that the government and the military technology can be involved as well, right? I'm not going to sweep that under the rug. The thing, though, is that there are frequencies, right? There are consciousness elements, right, that go beyond the technology of people, you know, being able to create individually and collectively create crop circles, get direct call and response, right? And the experiences of altered states of consciousness, there are higher multidimensional elements that take it beyond what a military government technology could do. How's that? Is that a little bit of everything?
Awesome. Carol, honey one, do you want to come on camera or do you want to stay hidden?
No, I'm on camera, as far as I know.
Oh, well, hi, Carol.
On the recording, you're on camera, but I haven't got you spotlighted. You are now, darling.
There you go.
Hi.
Okay.
What would you like to ask?
Nadia, Nadi, is it Nadi?
Nadi.
Are you getting that the highly evolved beings, they want the whole of humanity to go up in consciousness?
Yes.
Is that what that's what you're, yeah, because that's what I'm getting as well. Yeah.
Sorry, yeah.
Yeah, I worked in London and I worked over here. I tried to change careers as a counsellor and psychology, but that can prescribe pills, right? if society drives you crazy.
Yeah.
I'm retired now, and okay, and I'm also teaching online as well.
Nice.
I do the Zoom meetings. That's my conventional life. But my unconventional life, my cousin and I saw a UFO when we were kids.
Wow.
And he stayed with science fiction, and I thought, no, there's an element of truth in this. So there wasn't much going on in England in 1956, but I came over here to Canada. I started going to the conventions in the United States. So I met the speakers and the abductees like Betty Hill and Travis Walton. And there's Larry Warren at Rendlesham, you know. But even our own Grant Cameron says that, you know, it's not about UFOs, you know, it's about the higher level of consciousness. Yeah. So I just wondered, you know, is that what you're getting as well, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm in 6 groups now, you know, and they're all saying the same thing. They're all on Zoom. I'm in a group, though. The only group I get together with now actually is the Knowledge Book, and it's a woman in Turkey. And she's 100 years old, and she's in touch with the beings, and they dictated to her, and she's written the book with the God, you know, the Knowledge Book. So, but everything you're talking about is in that book, is in the Knowledge Book. I'll put it in the chat, and then you can. There's a way of, if you click on the magnifying glass on the left-hand side, and then the search bar pops up, and you can go in and, you know. And I just went in looking at. I just typed in triangles, and amazing, it tells you all the chapters, you know, instead of going through the whole 938 pages, it'll bring up all the chapters, you know, for that. But you may like to, but yeah, they're preparing us to go, you know, higher levels. They want us to stop warring, stop playing around with nuclear weapons. We're like kids with matches, you know, and that can affect them as well. Because when I went on to, with the anniversary of Hiroshima and Nagasaki, there was nothing on the Canadian news, but I went online, you know, out of respect, and I found out that when we exploded an atomic device or hydrogen, there's a scalar wave goes out, and it affects them out there, you know, and they're here as well, of course, right? You know, so yeah, stop destroying the planet.
Imagine that.
So
radical.
I'm just wondering whether you were getting, you know, the same thing. But anyway, okay, so I've popped in the chat. So
thank you, Carol.
They give you codes as well, you know.
Yeah.
And when we, you know, get to higher line, and then they said eventually humanity can bring universes into being. Can you imagine?
Absolutely.
I can.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Let's do it. Let's do it.
Yeah,
You know,
let's
I
do
mean,
it.
that's the title of the whole presentation, right? Is multidimensional consciousness, like consciousness that there's so much more than this world. But
Absolutely.
yeah, there's the channel. Her name is Judith Moore. She's the one I resonate with the most, and she literally gets information about each unique crop circle formation. That, for example, one of them is here to help stabilize the frequencies of our water, that what we've done so badly to. One of the formations is here to anchor new frequencies so that the star kids can come through with less distress. And then, you know, formations that are here to heal our DNA, just on and on with this advanced technology to help us get beyond.
So her name again, Judith, is it Judith?
Judith
I went online, looked at your
Moore.
Judith Moore, Moore, and she's very closely connected with our very favorite Barbara Lamb. They wrote a book together. And it's called, crop circles, the light something, but she gives all sorts of channeled information about the star glyphs and how just looking at them is activating us to our higher dimensional capacities. But absolutely, that's what they're here trying to help us for.
I also went online, Nadi, you know, and I can see your galactic. I went on Google, galactic rose geometry, you know. Wow.
Yeah.
Galactic Star Keepers, Facebook. You're at so many places.
Well, we got to talk about it, right?
Yeah.
You're welcome. And I'm sure you'll share my website, but I mean, just doing the classes, talking to each other, you know, we do this to meet each other. We do this to turn each other on. And it's so wonderful that Sheila's doing this, and Karen, that you're as well. I mean, we got to get going, right?
I know the synchronicity, like Sheila asked me to do tonight because she couldn't do it. And I'm like, who's the speaker? And she's like, Nadi. And I'm like, who? And then I'm like, oh, Nadi's coming on the show in a couple of weeks. So we're going to have this conversation all over again. Hopefully we can have I don't know, different conversation about it. But Maureen has something really interesting to say here.
Oh, you bet she does. Maureen is awesome.
I want to say something just really, and Rebecca's got a hand up. Like when you were sharing the different shapes, the dodecahedron. I had this fabulous person on the show, which I've just uploaded yesterday, and today, called Ann Tucker, who channels the angels, and she was talking about probable timelines, probable realities, because there's a lot of predictive stuff about the event and earth changes and stuff like that everyone's talking about. But she was talking about the dodecahedron, like on each face of the dodecahedron is a timeline.
Oh, how cool.
Right? And it's like, and these dodecahedrons are spinning. Can you imagine, like when you look at the crop circles and you put it into that 3D like they do in the Thrive mode, and then everything's spinning and moving, and oh my God, it's just insane. But on each face of the dodecahedron is a timeline, and as they spin and they align, then that's the timeline that we're on, the trajectory that we're on. So she said the angels have showed me, the multidimensional timeline parallel universe as this sacred geometric structure. It's just awesome. Rebecca, you've got your hand up, and Maureen, do you want to come on? What did you want to say, Rebecca?
I about plasma. You mentioned plasma light. Plasma. I just heard. Have you ever heard of Veda Austin and the work that she's doing with water?
No.
She's taken Emoto's work way beyond what he did.
I did. Yeah. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
You are aware of her then?
Oh, vaguely, but I've heard she's doing amazing things. I've heard of this person.
She's of Maori heritage.
Okay. Yeah.
And yes, and there are 4 phases of water, one of which is plasma. And she has been able to freeze water at the plasma level. I mean, she's got it precision frozen that I can't even articulate this. She's having conversations with water. Water never dies. The bottom line is that water is divine and it never dies. We never die. And the sacred geometries are what made me even pose the question, or it's not even a question. That interview with Heather Ensworth was just amazing because she showed the pictures of the sacred geometry and the conversations and how the water is talking back to her. Thank you.
Put a link. Can you put her name in the chat? Because that's so inspiring. It helps me, helps balance out my hopelessness.
I'll try. I'm not very good with chat. Hang on. I mean, I'll try.
Okay.
Veda Austin, you mean, or both names for the interview?
Just her name, and then I think we could search. That would be wonderful. But those are the types of things that are happening too, that are exciting, and maybe we'll make it.
Thank you,
Maureen.
Thank you.
You've got your hand up. Did you want to come on camera? You don't have your camera on.
Yes, I can come on camera.
Okay.
Hey there.
Hi. Yes, just talking about the woman I'm working with at the moment, Elizabeth Wood. She's a scientist and seer. Many of you may have heard of her. She loves putting the science to the metaphysical stuff, and she's been able to see since she was born. Anyway, her latest thing over the last year has been we're going from Homo sapien to Homo luminous, which just resonates divinely. But she's discovered that in our lymphatic system, they've found another, what's it called, premovascular system that has light in it. So this light, in my mind, I ran away with that. And then, great, there's light in here, but there's a man, Dr. David Pollock, who's done the 4th phase of water. And in that fourth phase of water in our cells, it turns into a plasma. And then when you shine light on that plasma from our biophotonic system,
Right.
it does amazing things with our cells, and, you know, top cell health and all that sort of thing. But I just think those two things put together, brand new scientifically, both of them, is a wonderful, just knowing. It's all these just knowings that add to, oh, I can get a little bigger. And thank you, Nadi. Thank you, Karen. It's been a wonderful presentation. I didn't expect this today, and it's just fantastic. Perfect.
So
Thanks,
glad. So good
Maury.
to see you.
Did you
Yeah.
have a question for Nadi, or you just wanted to share that about the?
No, I just
light?
wanted to share. Somebody asked about the biophonic when I put it in the chat.
Yeah.
But no, I don't really have a question. But just, is Judith Moore online at the moment, or is she doing anything currently?
I have a feeling she's completely reclusive and hasn't done
I think
anything
she
in a
might be
while.
too. I haven't found her.
Yeah,
I've got the
that's
book.
my
I love it.
memory.
But yeah, okay.
Yeah, that's my memory of her. But when I hear your, comment, or Rebecca, in terms of like sort of cutting edge technology, and hearing people that are, going more into the next level, like consciousness of our elements, or, what light is capable of and what our DNA are capable of. I feel like I'm a bridge. I feel like I'm a bridge from, introducing this information to some of the extraordinarily complex intelligence involved, and sacred geometry and crop circles and whales and dolphins and light language, right? It's all of these things that I love talking about because they are such a gentle introduction, right? It's like gentle contact. And then there's like, put your seatbelt on, because you start to learn about all of this incredible cutting edge scientific developments, right, of photonic light and how it interfaces with our DNA. And I feel like I just showed up and it's, it's confirmation of what we know to be true. Like, we all know these things, and it's about our humanity just catching up with the technology that's on the ships. It's, sometimes it's painful, but we're going to get somewhere. I guess that's a silly statement. Yeah.
It was an aha. George has popped some links in the chat for people who want the third phase of water and stuff like that. If people want to look at that. It was an aha moment for me, Nadi, was when you said that the crop circles are activating our intuitive and telepathic abilities. Because when I was watching Thrive all those years ago and thinking about it, I was thinking, God, humans are so sort of tapped out of their own intuition that the, whoever the intelligence that's creating the crop circles needs to talk to us in this way, but they're talking to us in this way because we need to see it in order to, because we don't trust that we're getting telepathic communication.
Yeah.
But they're not only talking to us in that way, they're activating that telepathic communication so that they can talk to us in another way, which is what a lot of people are doing. A lot of people are doing, including you, including me.
Right. It's not so much about this like mass contact with the ships. It's just like individual islands of coherence, that we're just going to slowly shift when we are not even aware of it. What is our time limit? Because I would love to just throw a couple more up so that we can stare at them.
Let's do that. Let's throw a couple more.
Can we do that? Okay. And if there's questions, like, I could keep talking. I just don't want to look at myself anymore when we've got crop circles that we could be looking at. All right, we'll get back to a few of them. Yeah, let's do that. So like, when we're talking about the geometric structure of water, right? They're hexagons. It's a hexagonal structure, 6 sides. And you see so many crop circles that are hexagonal in their pattern, right? Stuff like this, like what is even going on with this? I love to sit and meditate with this one. You could put me on mute and just sit and look at this, because it's so extraordinary. And the longer you sit with them, the more they come alive, and the more comes alive in you, right? And so we could sit here for half an hour on any of these, but I'll just go through some of them so that you have a sense. This is another hexagon, right? This one is one of my favorites. I ultimately had an art show about crop circles as well, because I just want to draw them. I am so compelled by them, and drawing them is a really great way to stay connected to them, or just, go in deeper. Not this one.
You
I
know,
don't know which way to go.
when I look at them, I imagine the 3D like the Thrive movie did, and then imagine yourself. And so it's like you bring it out into the 3D, and then everything's spinning, like all those circles are spinning and all that energy is moving. And then imagine putting yourself inside that movement, inside of it.
Yeah. I mean, it's just a lot of friends. Hang on, I'm gonna skip fast here, so pardon the awkwardness of this. And I actually want to, we'll just stop with this one. A lot of people who come to my events and classes, right, because I do a whole lot on crop circles, and then upcoming I have a drawing crop circles course, right? But you have to have been in some of the other ones to like really know about drawing. But they're so fun to draw because they're based in geometry. Here you can find the different structures, pentagons. But a lot of people come and they're like, I see these things 3D, like I gotta be able to draw them or sit with them, because they are so alive, and then you can see they're fractal, right? Because they're in the geometric structure. A lot of them are just fractalizing and remarkable. And what I will say real quick is I'll give a shout out to the artists and those who interpret them, right? So this crop circle was interpreted by an amazing human. His name is Janosch, which is Janosh. And at first, he makes these cards, right? It's like an oracle deck, and he draws the crop circles. He interprets them and then has these beautiful renditions, and the color therapy is amazing. And the box with about 50 cards or so said sacred geometry. And so I was really drawn to it. And then of course I got into the crop circles, and the box actually says that it's an Arcturian interpretation of the messages of crop circles. So he drew the art on the left, and then this box set includes tracing paper, because the code on the back of the card, right, the one on the left is the front, the one on the back is this code that he downloaded, that you can put the tracing paper over and do some activations by getting it going yourself. So really fun to draw. And then I'll just add this one. This is so fun. So I got to sit in this one this year. It was made the day that I arrived. It's all about me, right? But this is part of the collective, right? I've been studying these things for 8 years, and I really wanted to sit in one. So it was made the day I got there. And then the next day we got to sit in it. It was a magical set of circumstances. But this is a beautiful 9-fold geometry, right? And since I've been drawing for a while, I know that I can get this if I draw the flower of life. I know how to break down the flower of life into a 9-fold geometry. And so I drew it. So all sorts of drawing fun that can reactivate whatever it is that are in that's in the fields to be activated. So, okay, that's enough about that. But hang on, there's a few here. You saw that one before. We'll just do a couple more. Just stunning, right? And obviously I'm at least just tipping you off to the fact that this is an incredible, infinitely fascinating study. The lines, the details, and I know there's a bunch of really straightforward questions. It's been happening since the 1990s. It happens during the summer with the cereal fields, right? The different barley and the wheat. This one in particular, I had a very activating situation. I asked for confirmation. I saw this one in 3-dimensional spinning in front of me. It's an infinited geometry. And I believe this one to be the sigil of my Starfleet, right? Like that's information that I received, if you want to talk like telepathic activation. And it was similar, like it's an infinited geometry, like it's trying to ask us to do different things with our brain, right? So all of these super cool different geometries that are formations that are based in geometries, and super gentle access point, and you don't even know it's happening. You're just looking at some crop circles, and all of a sudden your telepathic abilities come online. It's how our multi-dimensional nature is happening through sacred geometry and crop circles. Look at that. There's your hypercube, right? I mean, yeah, some of them definitely man-made, but also in an effort to cover up what's going on. There's always that effort to cover up the real stuff, and that's how you know it's real. And so just Go online, go to temporary temples, go to crop circle connector and just stare at them. And don't be surprised if you start making montages and hearing communication from them. We'll just end with this one because this is a great example. Thousands and thousands, right? There's thousands and thousands of crop circles, but thousands of stories of people asking for different crop circles. So this was a molecular biologist, this famous story, went to England asking on the consciousness, asking for a demonstration of magnetic propulsion. I want to see an image of what that looks like. And this crop circle happened the following day, right? So you have the magnetic points, you have positive and negative creating gravitational fields. And then right inside there, that kind of looks like a ship, you know, just all sorts of levels of communication. And I'm sorry, because I could just talk forever, so I'll try to wind it up. But when I was there this time, I got to meet all of the old timers, all of the hardcore crappies that have been doing it, and they all have stories. Like, we got together and they're all like, okay, let's create the next one. Like, that interface with consciousness it's part of the magic and the mystery of them. And hopefully I've invited a little bit of curiosity into the mystery for the consciousness activation. It's been so cool to talk with you all. I'm quite sure I'm like running over on time or something. I want to be conscious of that.
Oh, MG, that was awesome. That was just awesome. I want to thank you so much for sharing your wisdom with us today, Nadi. It's just been,
Thank you.
it's been amazing. Yeah, as I had some aha moments, like, you know, when you think you can't be amazed, every day is another reason to be amazed. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
Thank you
Next
so much.
level.
We're going to stop the recording now.
Great.
And see you.
Thanks, everybody. Yeah.